Okay, welcome back to my live stream of When the Night Comes. I know I said I wasn't going to stream tonight, but my plans for tonight fell through, so I figured why not continue. Especially because this is probably my favorite chapter because it's the one where you get to pick your love interest, and I'm really looking forward to that. So as a recap for people who haven't been following as I stream, which is probably most people, When the Night Comes is an urban fantasy type thing, kind of set in the Victorian period. And your character, the player character, is what's called a hunter. You are the sort of person that creatures that go above the night are afraid of. And you hunt, I almost said witches. You hunt lycans, vampires, demons, any supernatural creatures that would harm innocent humans or just innocents in general. So you've arrived in the town called Lunaris, where you have been summoned because there is this big fucking mystery as to why these people are dying. There's been a series of murders. And the victims have all been fellow hunters of similar skill to yourself, particularly the most recent death before your arrival. And the first two chapters are basically you finding your feet and trying to figure out what's going on. And then the third chapter is you flip for pretty much a whole day. And so you attend what's called the Lunar Festival, and you get to pick who you attend it with. There could be any of these characters that you see on the screen here: Omen, August, Ezra, Piper, Alcar, or Finn. But choosing one of them doesn't mean that they are your love interest at that point. You can flirt with any of them. And one of the things I really like about the game is that you spend time with each character during each chapter. So after the Lunar Festival, at the very end, there's a screen. You find out there's been another murder. Another hunter has been killed. So you and Piper, who is also a hunter, go to investigate and try to find out more. And then August sends you back to get some rest since you're supposed to be figuring out why this is happening. And so one unusual event that has occurred is apparently the ghost of the previous hunter that died has contacted you. And he contacts you on your way back from the forest where the most recent death occurred, and he mentions Harry, who is basically the head of the enforcers, who kind of are like the handlers for the hunters. Harold Addington III. So you go to talk to him, and you find out that he and the previous hunter, James, were married. So he's grieving for his husband during this, and he's trying to oversee all of this mess, which... So then you talk with each of the others afterwards, and Alcard gives you a piece of it's a purple sash, which enforcers and hunters wear as a sign of their profession if they choose not to wear the uniform. And you can see that August and Piper are both wearing purple sashes. August is an enforcer, and Piper is a hunter. And your character can wear the sash or not, up to you. And you take the sash to Ezra, who's a witch, and he identifies who owns the sash. And you talk to August and explain where the sash came from. and they tell you that they have some confessions to make, and that's where we're picking up. So we're picking up with Chapter 4. Technically, Chapter 5, since Lunar Festival isn't numbered like the others. But we'll go with calling it Chapter 4 because that's what it says on the tin. So here we go. I think you need to take a seat. I have a few confessions. And I said this in the last video, but I'll say it again. I love the magic just flowing over everything. If you choose to attend the Lunar Festival with August and you choose a float option, they explain that they're why this happens. And it's pretty interesting. But we did not attend the Lunar Festival with August. We attended it with Piper for obvious reasons. At least obvious to me. Anyway, I can hear the rush of my blood pounding in my skull as I take a seat, my heart trying to escape the restrictive cage of my ribs as I stare at my enforcer down. Yeah, August is your handler, and that Piper as well. August's fingers are visibly trembling. All color has drained from their skin, and I'm fearful that they might faint. They draw in a shuddering breath and reach for one of the drawers in their desk, pulling out a vial that glows a vivid lavender. I recognize it from the very first time I met them back in Ezelstadt, which strangely feels like forever ago. The way they demanded it from him was a desperation that I haven't seen in them since, but it stuck with me nonetheless. At first I think they might pop the cork and swallow it whole, their eyes hungry as they shake it, watching the viscous liquid swirl and brighten. They don't, though. Instead, they place it in the middle of the desk, then proceed to sit on their hands. I gather that as a precautionary measure to prevent themselves from indulging. August, what is this? They clear their throat, unable to meet my concerned gaze. This is what I've been reduced to. Ezra gave this to you? They nod, and I reach for the vial. They watch intently, their throat bobbing as they swallow thickly. The room flares to life as I pop the cork, and August shifts from their seat. I notice that it happened within the game too, which I think was a nice touch. It smells fragrant, almost citrus, certainly not as unpleasant as I anticipated. It's not harmful if it's used as intended. Ezra could never create such things. He's not interested in enabling me, but I may have pressured him. You think? I may have taken advantage of it, hence the nature in which my magic has been manifesting lately, i.e., all this magic here. I look around the room, now understanding how such a display is possible. Just another thing to add to the long list of regrets I seem to have accrued lately. Oh? What does it do exactly? You can feel a crackle in the air, an obvious shift in tension. My magic draws from the mind, and when using it often, I tend to grow weary faster than most. It's a weakness I'm not proud of, and I cannot be viewed to be weak when in such a position in this agency. Therefore this, the gesture towards a vial, and I lay it back upon the desk, affords me the ability to replenish my mana, to put myself to use whenever required. Psionic abilities such as my own are rare, so I am required quite often. There are quite obviously side effects, though. Your health is more important than your notoriety, August. You need to learn when to say no. I seem taken aback by that statement, maybe even a little embarrassed. Yes, and I see that now. I've been a little blinded by the desire to impress, but the harder I look, the more I realize that I might be pushing myself to the limit for a broken cause. Oh boy. I blanch at that. Those words coming from August's mouth seem unreal. It's a casually honest statement, painfully honest even, and certainly not something that I could imagine the enforcer I met just a week ago daring to utter. Too many questionable things have happened right under my nose, and I was too blinded by my determination to see. I can talk freely. Aya, Piper, the murders. We need to go back to the beginning, examine the root. The root being the agency, the enforcers. A small nod, and they left their eyes to the ceiling, speaking their next words with great effort. Yes, the enforcers. Then why bring me here? That I cannot answer. I wish I could, though. So we will eventually be able to ask about both of them. So this is Robin. So Robin's going to ask about Piper first. You mentioned that you didn't want Piper to be demoted. So what happened? Their gaze flickers to the side, staring out the window at the smelly street. After Aya's arrest, Piper became unsettled. Rightfully so, might I add, now I look back. She wouldn't stop rambling about a theory she had about the agency, corruption, slander, all nonsense to me at the time, but she was caught trying to break into the dungeons and also rummaging through my files, just like you were this evening. I cleared my throat, offering them an apologetic grin. I was too infuriated to truly think straight, and before I got the chance to defuse the situation, Harry caught wind. Uh-oh. I regret the way I dealt with it, and Piper was a good friend to me before this mess began. Well, that explains the reputation the two of them have. I should have helped her. I let her down. Their gaze meets mine, and they somehow seem more concerned for me than they are for themselves. You and Piper, you were friends? Hard to believe now, I know. Oh, they're smiling. They see the irony. But yes, we were close enough for her to convince me to arm wrestle her, which they absent-mindedly rub their elbow as if they were nursing an old injury. Don't do that. Ever. The way they light up when they talk about such memories doesn't go unnoticed. I feel a pang of sorrow for their lost friendship. They both seem like they could do with such company in their lives, and now I understand why they're noted as being so prolific as a team. Exactly. You should speak to her, through the air. The look they throw me is less than convincing. Piper is a proud person. She's been wronged by someone she trusted, and she does not trust freely. Nope, not in this job. I wouldn't expect her to forgive me without much begging, but I shall try. I truly valued our friendship, and I've been cruel to her in my mission to please Harry. Oh boy. That ends now. And now we can ask about Aya. Tell me about Aya. They rest their elbows upon the desk, deeply in their fingers. There's not much to tell, really. She transferred here only a few months ago. We barely became acquainted when she was arrested, so Piper took a liking to her. A small smile crosses their lips. They worked well together, and I finally got to catch up on the ridiculous amount of paperwork I'd accrued during my time spent in the field with Piper. Why were you in the field? Well, things have been a little busier than usual here in Lunaris lately. Creature activity has been at an all-time high these past 2 years. Piper and I made an unstoppable team. I contemplate that for a moment, for any peak in activity is usually for a reason. It's been worse than the past few years? Not always this bad? They shake their head. Not always, but it almost seems normal now. I make a mental note to remember this, to pry later. So, her arrest. One day she was just gone? No explanations? It was reported that she went on an unsanctioned hunt, alone. I wasn't aware, and neither was Piper. We never saw her again. I reach for the papers that sit upon the desk between us. Harry's signature is clear as day. You didn't question it. An uncomfortable shift, a squirm almost. Oh boy. I did not. You don't question Harry. He's given me no reason to. I watched him carefully, the furrow in their brow deepening as they quite clearly second-guessed their own statement. Whew, that's significant, but they're second-guessing Harry. Something isn't right here, and Aya's situation feels too convenient to me. Don't you agree? A deep breath, and they sit back in their chair. A little of their tension seems to melt away, but the sadness still lingers. I do. Agus pushes away from the desk, swiping the still glowing vinyl as they stand, They cradle it gently in their palm before it shifts firmly into the drawer from where it came. What next? What can we do? I think you should speak to Piper. She might know more than me, especially after her snooping. I stand too, my touch lingering upon those discharge papers. I want to go into the dungeons. I want to see her. They avert their gaze, cheeks rosy, but their frustration evident. See? Cheeks are rosy. I cannot authorize that, not when I know that it would put your position in jeopardy. They thoughtlessly slide their hand across the back of their chair, cutting me a sympathetic stare. I can't have a repeat of what happened with Piper, Robin. Now, we have a hard option here, and a couple non-hardy options. And I'm torn. Do I want to keep flirting? Because I know who I'm going to pick for my romance option, so it seems kind of silly to keep flirting with everybody. So we'll go with the non-flirt option. There's plenty of characters where you romance August and the others, but this character that I'm planning to romance, I have not seen places on YouTube, which is part of the reason I'm doing this. I try my best to stop my own frustration showing. Please, August, I need you to trust me here. What if I can find a way to get down there undetected, a way neither of us will be implicated? Interest obviously piqued, they raise a dark brow at me, inquisitive. And how exactly do you propose to do that? With all due respect, Hunter Locke, you don't know the dungeons here. They're right, but I smile, and they narrow their eyes at the change in expression. What do you have up your sleeve? Well, I happen to know a few people who can certainly be of use to us. I'm not sure you're going to like it, though. Go on. You may not approve, but we have a few allies that probably know the dungeons better than any hunter or enforcer ever could. The dramatic and sudden roll of their eyes tells me they know exactly who I'm talking about. You can see that August and my character, the player character, are starting to bond. And for the people who haven't joined me before, my character is a tiny little hunter at 5'0", probably 125 pounds, I think, is what I came up with. Because she may be tiny, but she's muscular. She's got muscles. And basically, I chose to have her be tiny and petite because you wouldn't expect that of a hunter. You would expect a hunter to be built more like Pickle. So, and then Robin plays that up with the way she dresses. You want to enlist a bunch of vampires to help us break into the enforcement dungeons. Not a bunch, just the one. Finn lived in this town longer than, well, literally anyone. August scoffs loudly. Lived. He's as dead as a doornail. I love that. So you're just going to walk into the dungeons, chasm your intel, and hope not to get caught. I smile at their obvious distaste for my plan. Ezra, Piper, even Alcar, they can all help too. Do I have your permission to proceed? A pregnant pause follows my question, but eventually August meets my gaze once more. You have my permission. But please be cautious. I am no wiser than you here, and I cannot protect you if something goes wrong. You know, I came here to make something of myself. I was so desperate to move out of my parents' shadow because I come from a family that held me to such high standards. So we're learning a bit about their background. Standards I could never dream of meeting, no matter how hard I tried. Oh, ouch, that is the worst. Their words grow terser as the seconds pass, unraveling gradually. I don't want this to be my legacy, Robin. I want to make the world a better place, not a scarier one. I gathered that August has suffered through much frustration and life has weathered them to the bone. Very lovely weathering. They quickly gathered themselves, but their pupils quiver. I won't let you down. I don't doubt that, actually. And soon, and back to my room, get some sleep at least, before trying to talk to people. I head back to my room at the Wolf to clear my head and to try and figure out my hastily concocted plan a little more thoughtfully. I stay up pondering the fact that we still haven't been given the name of the latest victim, and I wonder if Harry is keeping it from me for a reason. Entirely possible, or maybe it's just they're not able to identify the victim. After my conversation with August, everything feels wrong. A quick, sharp pain rises in my temples, and I can feel the familiar presence looming, lurking. It would appear that no voices will visit me tonight, though. Because apparently nothing is sacred in this town, I managed to coax Piper's address out of Edna with very little persuasion. I get the feeling that Edna doesn't really require much persuasion. I head across the street, unsurprised that she lives so close to the tavern and as far away from headquarters as possible. Her house is small, but it appears to have character, much like its owner. Oh yes. I take a deep breath and I knock. She looks surprised to see me, but her expression quickly softens. Robin, I wasn't expecting you, especially because I assumed you had no bloody idea where I lived. But, are you okay? A timid smile crosses my lips. I definitely don't think this is a conversation to be had in the street. So, can we talk? Oh, sorry, of course, come in. The house is warm and inviting. The walls adorned with an abundance of gorgeous weaponry, various plants, and brightly colored pillows glittered around the room. This looks very inviting. I love the knives and swords all over the place, even hidden behind the plants. And then the plants. Green. Your home is beautiful. Thank you. I've been lucky, really. I know not all hunters catch a break like I have. Plus, real estate in this shithole is cheap. Oh, that's new. And this is the most casual we've seen Piper. You can see now that she has vitiglio. I mean, it was obvious before, but you could see more instances of it. We share a laugh, but I can't help but feel a sense of urgency to discuss things with her. I decide now is not the time for pleasantries or stalling. Cutting straight to the chase is the only way. I have some news about Aya. Her eyes widen, flicking to the side, away from me. Aya? Oh, so sad. Please don't say what I think you're going to. I pull the sash from inside my coat and present it to her, but I'm quick to reassure. This was found in the woods, but that doesn't mean she could still be alive, Piper. This has clearly been out there for a while. She reaches out and runs her hand over the ruined fabric, her fingers shaking. With a deep inhale, she withdraws, turning to sit upon the arm of her sofa. Why are you here? She looks so sad, like she's only thinking the worst. I don't blame her. I cannot imagine how frustrated she must feel with the hand she's been dealt. I wanted you to know that I spoke to August last night. They were quite honest with me about, well, everything, really. Oh, they were, I don't blame her for being skeptical. I suppose they told you why I was demoted then. I acted without rational thought. I was so bloody angry. So she accepts that it was kind of stupid. I offered her a smile, trying to catch her gaze. I may or may not have been caught doing exactly as you did. You didn't. I nod, feeling a little smug now that the fear of being reprimanded by my enforcer has dissipated. I broke into August Willenheim's office and lived to tell the tale. Fucking brilliant. And the smile's back. You've got guts, I'll give you that. I shrugged, brushing it off, grateful that the mood has shifted to something that feels a little lighter. You know, August regrets how everything happened. It seemed wistful. I think they may miss your friendship. She frowns deeply, fiddling with the edge of her tunic. They hurt me, and I think it will take me a while to get over that. It wasn't even about the punishment. It was that they didn't believe me. You worked with someone for all that time, but when it comes down to it, they think I've gone mad. Why would I make up such a thing? Everyone jokes about us and our instincts, but they don't understand. When we feel something, we really feel it, you know? I nod, because I do know. Whatever lies within us that grants us our abilities is something we cannot shake or ignore. If we sense someone is in pain or they're scared, we feel it in kind. If we love fully. If we can feel that something feels off, it usually is. They employ us to do what we do for a reason. I wish they'd have a better understanding of what or how we feel. But that's a problem. The enforcers are either witches who can't be hunters for reasons, or they're people who could not become hunters for one reason or another. Hunters are hunters regardless. They don't become enforcers. They remain hunters. She scoffed a quiet laugh, rolling her eyes and offered me a small smile. If only. If August wishes to make amends, I welcome their apologies, but it will take me a while to trust them again. Understandable. I was humiliated and betrayed by one of my only friends. They've got some begging to do. Now that I'd like to see. Me too. Shit, me too. Yeah, I forgot about that line. I'll get you a front row seat if it ever happens, alright? Oh boy, will she. Deal. Now, I have a proposition. Oh? Now we have two options of how we're going to tell her this. And since it's become pretty obvious who the hell I'm going to choose, we will choose the third option. Come then, what's this proposition, dear General? We're going into the dungeon. You what? She bursts into laughter, her shoulders shaking. Then a pause as she registers that I might not be joking. Wait, you're serious? I can't help but laugh at her furious expression. You're a real idiot, you know? Are you jealous of my shameful emotion or something, Being a major isn't that exciting, you ass. Why are you grinning like that? I take her hand and she tugs me closer. Because we're doing it together, so we'll be just fine. So cheesy, I don't know why I like you so much. She likes me, yay! She shoves me away playfully, her eyes sparkling, deliciously flirtatious. So, come on then, what's this plan? Well, I'm still putting the pieces together. You inspired me, though. Good to know some good comes out of my suffering, I suppose. Keep this line in mind. Do you have any tips, any kinks you encountered on your journey? The fact that I didn't get to the door would indicate that I failed pretty miserably. What did you say? And she's laughing. Yay! There are wards. There are guards. It's pretty impossible unless... Well, you know Ezra, don't you? That witch is more than a pretty face, you know. Speak to him. See if you can convince him to help. You can see pretty. She agrees. She's right. I've seen him use wards in the shop, and from what I saw of his magic the other day, I could kiss you. Oh, really? So I wouldn't blame you. When you're ready, you know I've got your back. Always. Upon entering the shop, I find chaos. I spot Ezra frantically gesturing at Omen, the demon's tail tightly coiled. I'm wary of approaching him after a little incident yesterday, instead choosing to observe from afar. I manage to catch Ezra's eye, and he throws me a sympathetic look. He's stressed, his hands full of bandages and potions. He mutters something quick and sharp under his breath to Omen, then turns and stares at me with wide, sorry eyes as the witch disappears through his purple curtain. What the fuck? What's going on? If I can ask what's going on, will you give me an answer? The question seems to catch him by surprise. Then he looks away, lips pursed guiltily. He doesn't seem to have forgotten his outburst with me yesterday, or his abrupt departure. He's blushing. Good. It isn't my intention to trip him with a reminder, but just as well that he remembers. Did you bring someone in who was hurt? Brown eyes snapped to me almost instantly, and Omen moves his foot a step between me and the entrance to Ezra's back room. He catches himself in the middle and forcibly drops his arms to his sides. He opens his mouth, stammers without speaking, then his shoulders droop in defeat. A little spark that might have caught on the bandage rolls in his hand, peters out. Bandage rolls in his hand. There you go, peters out. There we go. Got it right. Yes, but maybe you shouldn't see her right now. I mean... He licks his lips, reflective black tongue, so eagerly out of place on a face so painfully human in its distress. Just a quick reminder that he's not human. At least let Ezra see to her first. He needs some space when he works his magic. So, more options. I'm not going to pick the first option. Which one? Which one? Let's go with this one. Are you hurt? Omen blinks at me for a moment, uncomprehending. Had the thought that he might be the one who is hurt not crossed his mind at all? Evidently not. His mouth goes round in an O, and he blushes, looking away and shaking his head. But then he smiles and holds the medical supplies closer. Blushing again. I love it. I'm all right. It's her I'm worried about. Of course, the guest. I glance at the door leading to the back, and after my own concentration, I can pick up on it too. A hint of power, when not unlike Omen's own. Oh, similar to Omen's? Is this another demon? Another demon. This town is becoming a little too crowded, isn't it? I decide to keep my faith in Omen for now, however, and smile at him as reassuringly as I can. I'm sure she will be all right. Ezra is tending to her, after all. Everyone has a lot of faith in Ezra. At the reminder, Omen visibly relaxes. Yes, you were right, of course. He's very good at this. He took care of me, too, when I came here. His words peter out. Omen looks down at his arms, then at the wall, then at me pensively. His tail lashes back and forth, body tense, and for one dangerous moment, I wonder what exactly he would do. But my hands stay off my weapon this time, and his burgeoning power stays contained within that slim, fleshy guise. We look at each other until at last I feel we come to a silent understanding. Omen sighs, his shoulders falling. Hunter Locke, I owe you an explanation, I think. The truth. He fidgets, looking anywhere but me, before steeling himself and meeting my eyes. I relax my stance as much as I can, encouraging him. No use pushing when Omen seems willing to speak, but I'm glad to hear that I might finally be getting answers. Tell me. He smiles, eyes soft, appreciative, then takes another deep breath and begins. 2 years ago, I came to Lunaris. That is, I came to stay in Lunaris after a disagreement with my father, I suppose. His eyes flicker around the room almost nervously, and I find myself straining to detect any eavesdropping presence. Because his shoulders, but there is none. Omen seems to find the same thing because his shoulders droop again. I got ahead of myself. You know what I am. I suppose you've already guessed. He sighs. Your people call him Lucifer, I think. The fallen divine, the Lord of Hells. He's our sire. It takes me a moment to process what he said. Demon lore is plentiful and easily accessible when you are a hunter. Detailed logs of their fiendish hierarchies, favorite vices to exploit patterns of their appearances. I would damn well hope I know who the Lord of Hells is. Oh, that is, very nice. Omen's brown eyes widen, his jaw goes black in surprise. The glamour truly is something. I'm starting to wonder if he learned it from the witch behind the curtain. It is? He coughed. That was sarcasm, wasn't it? Yes. That was not sarcasm. Love it. No, it was not. Something else also hits me. Our sire? Omen bites his lip and looks away. Then he nods curtly, eyes flickering to the door leading into the shop. Well then, does your father know that you're here in the mortal realm? Can he find you? A terrible thought crosses my mind. The burned bodies, the hunters targeted. No! The minutes of his denial is startling. I quickly hold up my hands for peace, but Omen isn't paying attention. He's shaking his head vigorously, trembling. No, it cannot be him or any of his minions. I would have known. I would have stopped them. Ooh, this is new, but it makes sense. He's upset, and his control over his glamour would not be the best. His brown eyes are glowing with fire as he stares at me pleadingly, literal, simmering flames. I can feel the fire in his core, standing here, far enough away, and now that I know where it comes from, the familiarity makes sense. That's one hell of a secret to hold on to. And who is that in the back, then? One more colossal fact to add to the messy little mountain of information I've been gathering since stepping into this mad town. What else is new by now? For real. I believe you, Omen. Omen's shoulders droop in relief, and I feel something tense inside myself unclench as well. It needs not end badly. It will not. Besides, this case would have closed far faster if it were run-of-the-mill demons messing about. Quite true, it would have been obvious that it was demons instead of whatever this is. Right. Omen closes his eyes and says something too quiet for me to hear. Then he breathes in, breathes out, and slowly makes his way to the counter. He sets all the items in his arms down, there, with such deliberateness I know he is doing it so to calm the nerves. Something sneaks through still. I see a flicker of flame about his hair, and an intensity to his aura. But only briefly. The pressure fades as Omen raises his head. He doesn't look at me as he speaks. I think I'll go outside for some fresh air. Are you sure? Omen smiles at me over his shoulder, the curve of his mouth tense. I think it's for the best. I don't want her to see me like this, rattled, angry. She's my dear sister. She doesn't deserve... He trails off, staring into the distance for a moment. Then he shakes his head and makes for the door, only adding one last thing before he steps outside. Won't you go and say hello to her? I'm sure Elaine would find you lovely. Okay then. Oh wow. Resemblance. The second I lay my eyes on her, it's more than a little obvious that she is truly related to Omen. Maybe even a twin, unless the glamour is simply fooling me. Ezra has a poultice carefully pressed to her dainty hand, a pile of gauze covered in a thick black ichor just set upon the counter by his side. She blinks at me once, twice, her eyes big, brown, and every bit as earnest as Omen's. Hello. Her voice is disarmingly sweet, almost musical even. I smile at her politely, looking to Ezra for a little guidance. Elaine, this is Robin. Robin, this is Elaine, Omen's twin sister. Aha. Ah, yes. I assume Ezra was just as unaware of her existence as I am, but he's polite enough to stay calm and focused, as friendly and as hospitable as ever. It's nice to meet you, Elaine. Oh, you too. Elaine narrows her eyes at me for a brief moment, shaking her head. She looks terrified. She addresses Ezra, but she certainly keeps her eyes on me, on my weapon. Where is Armoros? I looked at Ezra, my confusion quite evident. Armoros? Ah, yes, that. Her face lights up when I say his name, but I gather that she doesn't fully understand my trepidation. Ezra turns to address the demon, patting her hand gently. He's just outside, and you're all healed up. But I do think you should go and see your brother now, Elaine. Okay, yes, I should. Ezra releases her, throwing me a sorry look over his shoulder as he turns to quickly dispense the mess of medical supplies. It was lovely to meet you, Robin. Her demeanor is delightful, elegant, and I'm still slowly processing exactly what her brother just told me. Yes, you too. She glances at me briefly before shyly averting her gaze, turning to meekly part the curtains that lead into the shop. The second she's gone, a tall, pale figure bursts through the back door. He looks shocked to see me, but quickly recovers. Is she healed? She's fine, and she's with her brother. I suggest you give them space for the time being. Ezra's words are final, stern, and Armoros quickly wilts under his vibrant green gaze, so lightly glowing from whatever magic he's just performed. I don't really know how to unpack all this, but what happened to her, and why are you so desperate to be by her side? He stares longingly at the curtain, Elaine's voice quiet on the other side. Then I remember the note on the stoop of the ibex, the little heart. Thus, Hela. Oh! Well, I'm courting her, you see. We're together. She was attacked last night by it. The one that's been getting to your kind, I think. What? Ezra and I share a look, doing little to hide our shock. It's, as in, the creature? Amorous closes his eyes, sighing heavily. Then he nods. See? Those eyes. Yes. Amorous, if you need to tell something, we can help. Elaine didn't need to get hurt, so if you know where this thing is... He looks at me, then back at Ezra, throat bobbing as he swallows thickly. He's quite clearly battling with the idea of divulging any more information. He's like the only person in this town who buttons up all the way. Elaine, too. So now we have a choice. We can encourage him to talk or push him to talk. Obviously, one is more aggressive than the other, and we're trying to be nice to him, especially since he's clearly smitten with my sister, so we'll go with encourage. We're trying not to be jerks here. Amorous, it's okay. You can trust us. We just want to help. She's right. No one will know what you tell us. We just want people to do. He sighs again, his shoulders sinking. I just want her to be safe. We can see you care for her a great deal, and we want that too. His ice blue eyes quickly flicker between each of us, and it's the most animated I've seen him. Why are you being nice to me? My sister and I... He trails off, almost looking right through me. If you have information about the creature, we need to know. People are dying, so I find it hard to hold your belief against you if you can offer assistance. Meaning, I don't care what you're saying about me and my people. I just want to get this figured out. Very well. Aurora has been speaking out at night as of late. I mean, that's not exactly uncommon for her, but I believe she's doing more than satisfying her basic urges. Ezra looks away, covering a quiet cough with his hand. Oh my gosh, no, we don't have time to pack all of that, but I'll store it away for later. There's a lot of no unpacking just yet. What do you suspect? I suspect nothing. I know she's feeding it, or something at least. She's feeding it? She seems unfazed, startlingly so. She may seem cruel and cold, but Aurora has a good heart. She cares for the creatures, makes sure they're safe. Can I see Elaine now? Can you maybe elaborate a little on that first? That's not enough. You gave us quite a lot there, dude. He shrugs, sighing again. It is what it is. I don't dictate to her what she can and cannot do. I find myself losing interest in our preaching. I just want to keep Elaine safe now. Oh. Ideally, we'll leave this wretched place for good, but her and Omen have only just reunited. Would she be so quick to leave him? Exactly. They're family and clearly care for each other. Maybe not. I think it's best for both of you to stay here and lay low. I'm not sure why the creature attacked her. It hasn't attacked anything inhuman so far. He looks at me, fixes my gaze, and with perfect confidence, how do you know? That is a very good question. The chill rolls along my spine, but I shake it off. Shake it off. Shake it off. You're right. I don't. I'd really like to leave now. You can leave, but I need you to promise me something. He narrows his gaze, his head tilted. Go on. Watch Aurora, and the second you see her do anything out of the ordinary, you find me. I will ensure Elaine is safe, I swear to you, but your compliance is essential here. I see Ezra shifting nervously out of the corner of my eyes, but I stand my ground. Amorous continues to assess me, calmer than he's ever appeared. Fine, I will seek you out, and I will watch my sister. Farewell, Hunter. Which? Gone. Well, that was interesting. Yeah, no shit. I anticipate some commotion from behind the curtains, but I hear nothing but silence. Interesting is putting it lightly. How are you, anyway? I huff a quick laugh because that question feels far too casual for the amount of information I've digested in the last forever. Tired, confused, the usual. I suppose I haven't done much to help with that, have I? I wanted to apologize for not being totally honest with you and for making your life a little harder than necessary. You already have so much on your plate. He seems genuine, and aside from his odd behavior yesterday, I have no reason not to trust Ezra. I spoke to August last night and Piper this morning. They know about the sash. Fear flashes across his features, but I quickly reassure him. It's fine, Ezra. They're on our side. They want to help. Even Gus? Yes, even August. I love that Ezra has a specific nickname for him and no one else can call him that. Are you sure you're not magic? Because that seems like an impossible task. Witches can't be hunters. I shake my head profusely. So, Robin's case, she does have some family members who are witchers. Witchers. I'm reading too much witcher fan fiction. Witches. No magic here. His smile grows, and he seems to relax exponentially. It's nice to see. Familiar. Then, let's talk. He takes a deep breath. The reason I am so hesitant to discuss Aya, or the enforcers for that matter, is because I used to work for them. You were an enforcer? Yeah, heavens, no. Look at that smile. So pretty. I went in and assisted in the infirmary or morgue whenever they needed an extra pair of hands. Good healers, are few and far between in these parts. I bet. It's what I always wanted to do, to apply my skills where it was most needed. Helping those who dedicate their lives to ensuring our safety was an honor. But then the hunter murders began. I got to examine the first body, if you can even call it that, with the state it was in. But something shifted within the headquarters afterwards. Oh boy, this is not good news. I listened intently, taking all this in, a little perplexed, a little caught off guard. They started treating me differently, calling me in less. Then when I was there, they kept me clear of any hunters. It became quite clear they didn't want me there any longer. Information was being kept from me, important information about the victims I was supposed to be examining. Then the Aya incident happened, and then another dead hunter turned up. This was when they revoked my access, took away all of my notes. Notes? He nods, glancing over at the kitchen counter. I may have had Piper retrieve them for me. If you'd like to take them, there's not much, but you're welcome to them. Anything would be helpful. Yes, I'll take them. He opens one of the kitchen drawers, pulls out a pile of parchment, and what looks like a fake wooden bottom. The notebook is nestled safely beneath it. Here. I tuck it away inside my jacket for later. So why were you so afraid to tell me this? You did nothing wrong. You were helping people. He offers me a sorry gaze, his brow furrowed, fingers curled into fists at his side. They do not like people talking about it, about the death. Many of us have our suspicions now, and they know. They will seemingly do anything to keep what's happening quiet. That's not a good thing to hear. Like not telling me who the latest victim is? Exactly. I wasn't even sure if I could trust Gus, but I wanted so badly that I pushed my apprehension aside. Wanted to so badly. There we go. I skipped a word. You were right to trust them. They're on our side. They're scared, too. Oh, Gus, I just want all of this to be over. What are we going to do? I smile, and Ezra's expression lights up. You have a plan? I have a plan. And again, third option. Now, the thing is, this bottom one, you can tell it's more aggressive, more authoritative. I don't want that. I'm his friend. But I don't want to flirt because I've already decided who I'm going to romance. So we'll go with this one. I'm going to need your help, along with a few of the others. Anything you need, I'm your guy. Well, magic anyway. We share a laugh, and Ezra definitely seems more relaxed now, like a weight has been lifted off his shoulders. Piper and I are going into the dungeons to see if we can locate Aya. If we can talk to her, I think we might have a start. Everything leads back to when she was arrested, as far as I can tell. How on earth are you going to get down there without being caught? That's where you come in. It may involve you and August working together, though. Does Gus know about this little plan of yours? Yeah, I grimace, waving my hand in a so-so gesture. Excuse me. Partially? You're lucky I trust you, Robin. Oh, that smile. God damn it, you make it hard not to flirt with you. But really, I'm here for you. Just tell me when. Thank you, Ezra. Now, how can I find Finn? Why, a secret passageway, of course. You're in the right place. He bends down, kicking aside a colorful rug to reveal that hidden hatch. It creaks loudly when he opens it, a gust of cold, stale wind rising from its depths. In you pop, walk for about 10 minutes, then when you see candlelight, it's the third door on the left. Don't be alarmed by any of the clan members, they're all friendly. I nod, take a deep breath. I lower myself into the hatch, gazing up at him with a smile. See you around. The incessant drip, drip, drip of water guides me forward through the darkness, the stench of dampened decay filling my nostrils as I think deeper into the corridors of the catacombs. The pitch-black path is long and winding, and the only sound I can hear is the tap of my boots on wet stone. Eventually, I see candlelight flickering ahead, and it would appear that I finally found life. Well, kind of, because we're talking about vampires, so vampires are not alive. I remember to look for the third door on the left, just as Ezra had instructed, but as I approach, I find it wide open. I peek inside, and the stark contrast between the literal tomb outside and what I find is what is most definitely Finn's quarters is astounding. I mean, how could these not be Finn's quarters? Look at all that black with the gold accents, books, sketches. Oh, look, a skull! Before I get the chance to take in the view, a cool breeze brushes past me, ruffling my hair and sending goose flesh prickling across my skin. A small, darkly-clad girl appears before me in a flash, her eyes the brightest crimson as they bore into me. She stands with her head tilted and a toothy grin crossing dark lips. Now, take note. Push, carve a yin-yang symbol. So keep that in mind. Are you lost, human? She stares me down, wide-eyed, and quite clearly trying to intimidate me, but she seems playful. I'm here to see Finn. She relaxes at the sound of his name, and her striking gaze sweeps over me like a caress. She shrugs, pursing her lips. So you're the one he won't shut up about, huh? Well, you do smell good, I guess. Well, that's touching. Smell good? Is Finn here? She looks the same, and I notice how similar some of her more human quirks are to his. She's far less poised than him, but I almost feel like that may be on purpose. I'm in Finn's territory here, neutral territory. They call the desire to be defensive, even though her eyes are the color of a creature who drinks human blood. So wait, if her eyes are red because she drinks human blood, then how are Finn's eyes gold? He's somewhere here, around, doing stuff helpful. Her smile widens, and she turns to poke at a crystal decanter of whiskey that is nestled in the corner of one of his many bookcases. So, are you part of the clan? A quick nod, almost too quick to catch. I am. She pours the rich amber liquid into a glass, swirls it, sniffs it with a dramatic grimace, and puts it aside untouched. So why did you pour it if you're not going to touch it? Her nose was so crinkled in barely disguised disgust when she looks at me again. I wish that thing you're looking for would stop killing hunters, you know, because that means that more of your type will come. Then, more enforcers, which is the last thing we need in this shitty town. But clearly she doesn't like enforcers. I hear footsteps, loud ones that echo out the stonework in the hallway. Robin! I suspect he knew I was here, but his shock is charming nonetheless. And he seems to be the most allergic to buttoning up his shirt. He looks at the girl, who throws him a decidedly wicked, wolfish grin, the picture of innocence. Raven, are you being nice? The girl, Raven, shrugs, sidling up to him and resting her head on his shoulder. She rolls her eyes hard enough, I'm surprised they don't fall back into her skull. Yes, Dad. Say what? Finn's face drops. His eyes narrowed. I get the impression that if he could blush, his cheeks would be the prettiest shade of pink. I stifle a laugh, and with obvious delight, Raven notices. Raven. She laughs, the sound loud and obnoxious, but somehow still charming. She shoves him playfully, but Finn remains stern. Are you going to introduce me to your friend? The suggestive waggle of her eyebrows doesn't go unnoticed, and Finn sighs heavily, offering me an apologetic smile. Robin, this is Raven. I'm his kid. There's a low, exasperated rumble of a warning in Finn's throat, and I find myself enjoying the way he bristles in our presence. Finn throws her a death glare, and she proceeds to look guilty, but just a little. Pardon me. He raises a single dark brow at her, and after a quiet scoff, she enthusiastically steps forward and offers me her hand. It's really nice to meet you, Robin. This guy hasn't stopped questioning about you, so thanks for giving him something new to mope over. I do not mope. Raven rolls her eyes, and I finally take her hand. Her grip is firm. I wonder if she might be trying to unnerve me when her startling eyes widen exponentially. Hurt him, and I'll eat you. Got it? I open my mouth to respond, but before I get the chance, she's laughing again. Finn looks mortified, and he carefully pries her hand from mine and ushers her towards the door. It's time for you to go, I think. Raven pounced, raising both of her hands in defense. I was joking, obviously. I like her already. She offers me a little wave and rises onto her tiptoes to press a kiss to Finn's cheek. He looks at her with unabashed fondness, a small smile creeping onto his lips. Aww, yay. Go, say hello to Lux for me, and be good. Lux? What? Who's that? He runs his hand over her shorn scalp, and she swats at him playfully, scoffing much like a teenager would at an embarrassing parent. I like it. I'll do more than say hello. Bye, Robin. Another disappointing rumble, and Finn almost looks like he wants to chase her to administer another pep talk, but he stops himself. And with that, she's gone. The door is slamming loudly and shaking in its frame. Finn groans, running an iron hand over his face as he walks to grab the whiskey Raven had poured him. So that's why she poured it. She's interesting? I should laugh, and he sips his drink. She's a pain in the arse, but she's my pain in the arse. That sounds like me about my cat. I love him dearly, but to me, that needs to be such a pain sometimes. She's I sired her, so she's her responsibility. She jokes about me being her father, but I suppose I am in a way. He takes a small sip of the whiskey, savoring the taste for a moment before he speaks. So I prefer brother. Father just makes me sound so old. He snorts, the noise charming. Yes, old. She tends to look after me much more than I look after her. She's a good kid. I'd be lost without her. I nod, observing him quietly as he sets down his glass. Styrofoams are powerful, and it's interesting to observe such a casual, healthy dynamic. I love it. Did you choose to turn her? He frowns, shaking his head. Well, no, not exactly. It's complicated, but I made a choice that I have to live with forever. Literally. I'd seen too many die at the hand of my sire, and something about her struck me. He planned to leave her for dead, but I couldn't let that happen. He smiles, and it's a bright, earnest. We're kindred spirits, I guess. As much as I have regret for crushing her with immortality, she's the closest thing I have to a family. Anyway, Robin, what brings you to my neck of the other world? He leans back against his desk, still cradling the glass. No, same situation with Ezra. I would love to pick the third option. It's really funny. But I know I'm going to romance, so no point, right? So I don't want to be aggressive ordering him around, especially considering that he's much older. So I have a plan, and I think I might need your help to execute it. He tilts his head, curiosity obviously piqued. A plan, I do love those. Tell me, what can I do? Don't you want to know the finer details first? He shrugged, running his tongue over his bottom lip. Makes no difference to me. I trust you implicitly. If it means I can help you in any way, I am all ears. That's heartwarming? Lou and Sally? Just tell me when you need me. Piper and I are going to attempt to break into the dungeons beneath headquarters. His ears flicker, almost flattening against his head before they put themselves to rights. He cannot make it much to surprise, nor his apparent interest. I see. The dungeons, hmm? He whistled, scuffing his boot against the stone floor. I can whistle, but probably not the kind of whistle that they're thinking of. I can help you, but I might have a favor of my own to ask you if you're bold enough to venture down there. I narrow my eyes at him, contemplating if I want to tangle myself into yet another web. What is it? He pushes away from the desk, standing tall. An important member of my clan has gone missing, and I'm positive that they have him. As I'm sure you know, any trust for the enforcers is wavering. I want my friend back. He's done nothing to warrant being thrown in the dungeon. His hands fall into fist at his side, his prosthetic flaring brightly before it fades into its usual dormant, dull glow. How do you know that they have him? I don't. They have an excellent defense system that prevents any of us from detecting him, no matter how close we manage to get. He would not just abandon us. He's either detained or dead, and if it's the latter, I just want to know. Understandable. You're sure he wouldn't just leave? Your clan isn't like others. Maybe he wanted a change? He looks sad, frustrated. He runs his fingers through his hair, leaving it messy. Piero wouldn't just leave. I know he wouldn't. I trust him more than anyone else in my clan, even Raven. We both suffered at the hands of Levi for centuries. We were healing from that together. That says a lot. He was the only friend I had when I was with Levi, and he saved my ass more than once. I owe him this. If he's ash and bone in a forest somewhere, then so be it. But if he's there, then I must save him. The only family creatures like we have are the ones that you find, so I intend to keep them safe as long as I can. Oh, Finn, my heart. So again, we can ask about both Piero and Levi. It doesn't matter which order. So we'll ask about Piero first. Why do you think they would take Piero specifically, if you're so sure he's innocent? He shrugs, clearly quite confident in his theory. Because he's valuable. He's an impact, a powerful one. If he saw something that he wasn't supposed to, or even if they just managed to overpower him and get him alone, a quiet growl rumbles in his chest. I rarely let my clan members patrol by themselves, regardless of our supposedly stable relationship with the enforcers of this town. But I was stupid, and Pierre was a good sweet talker. He sensed someone in distress in the woods, so his shoulders sag, his eyes fall to the floor, losing their sparkle. So I allowed it. Therefore, if anything has happened to him, it's my fault. Finn prides himself on being the opposite of his sire, and I could see that this is eating away at him. You can't place the blame on yourself. You didn't know. Plus, if he is as valuable as you think he is, his eyes light up when they meet mine, his fingers twitching upon the surface of the desk. Then they could be using him, so he's still alive. I smile in return, tilting my head this way and that. Well, ish. He laughs, and I can't help but join him. Look at that smile. So you'll check for me? I nod. I will. And now to ask about Levi. The information Finn's sire is sparse outside the fact that he was notorious and cruel, and I wonder how such a seemingly kind man could have followed him for that long. Do you want to talk about him? About Levi? Finn grimaces, holding his arms across his broad chest, his posture losing its usual confidence. I suppose. I take a seat on his bed as he pulls out his desk chair. The first thing I can think to ask him is loaded, but I need to understand. Why did you stay with him for so long? His mouth forms a little O and looks at me wide-eyed for a beat before he manages to formulate a response. That's like asking a domestic abuse victim why she stayed with her, or he, why they stayed with their spouse, or boyfriend, girlfriend, significant other. Well, I don't know if I can answer that because I still don't know. He was good at making sure you had nothing else to go home to, but he was all I had. I'm not the kind of man who does well with loneliness. A wry smile, but Finn looks sad, a pale film of prison coating his golden eyes. I guess even his tears are blood. That's something I've seen with movies, books, etc. about vampires. Even the tears are bloody. What did he take from you? He swallows thickly, casting his gaze to the side. I mean it when I say he made sure there was nothing left. He took my fiancé, killed him right in front of me before he took my own life. Oh, so he was going to be married to a man. Oh, clearly there's no stigma against same-sex marriages. I was an orphan and I didn't have any friends, so Gabriel was truly all I had. He destroyed our home, all of our memories, even took my name from me. Ouch. I laughed, but it's bitter, tinged with anger. Everything. He took it all, and he did everything to make sure that I needed him. I followed him like a lost puppy for centuries. Did you ever try to escape when you found others? He nodded. Many times. I had a few blissful periods of freedom, but he always found me. He tended to collect vampires with abilities like Sierra and myself, maybe to make up for the fact that, aside from his advanced age, he was truly unremarkable. I can see that. And now, he's dead, and you're free. You seem to be managing well for someone who endured all of that. He sighs, rubbing the back of his neck with his iron hand. I am trying to shape myself into the man I always wanted to be, before the whole being undead thing. I try not to dwell on the things that have happened to me. I was bitter for long enough. But the fact of the matter is that I cannot change any of it. All I can do is be the opposite of what he wanted me to be. So that's one way to fight him. I smile, observing him. I register how comfortable I feel in his home. The thought of stepping into the den of a clan before all this would have set me on edge, but now, you're doing a great job, Finn. Snap curls into an earnest grin. Thank you, Robin. I gave you permission to kick my arse if I ever dared to step out of line. Aww. Duly noted. So, what is it that you'd like me to do exactly? Well, no one knows this town quite as well as you. I was hoping you'd have some secret little passageway tucked away for me to use. There are wards, other things in place to stop people like you, like us, getting in. I don't worry about that. Now, about that passageway, his grin is wicked, and I think I have my answer. I'm your guy. Just say when, and I'll be there. If you need anything else, just come running. I bid Finn farewell, and I only need to find one more friend. I saved the most stubborn till last. Who could that be, I wonder? Alcar is waiting for me when I return to the inn, and for some reason it doesn't surprise me anymore when I catch his eye across the tavern, where he's been nursing a mug of ale, clearly pouting. That the pout disappears when he sees me surely counts for something, though. The way his lips spin instantly makes me think perhaps not. He gets up, movement slow and deliberate, and I remain by the door for a moment, wondering if, hilariously, he's somehow trying to not scare me. Which of us is the one who should tiptoe? Took you long enough. Was wondering if the bad shit got to you. Do you need something? Yes, actually. Alcar rubs at the back of his neck and gives me a critical once-over, frown deepening, then glances behind his shoulder at the sparsely populated tavern. The 3 or 4 people lounging about seem deeply engaged with their own conversation, but I nod in understanding. I got distracted for a moment. My room? Eckhart barks a short, scornful laugh. So your spirit can come knocking on the door and catch us? Not a chance. Are you saying I'm trying to ambush you? He frowns at me, tail clicking and then going still, his voice low and steady when he answers. No, I'm not saying that, but I'm not keen on taking chances right now. Tell me you agree. Much as I loathe to abandon the premise of a horizontal, not bare rock surface to lie down, close my eyes and try to even process the day, he's right. And if Alcar has any more information, any more at all, I want to hear it. I need to hear it. All right then. Where? The woods. Are you serious? The deep, dark woods where I just killed a young lady not more than a day ago? Alcar rolls his eyes. Would you prefer the graveyard where those damned Woodridge twins can probably hear every word we say? Not all the woods are dangerous. I would know. I live there. Now I ask that you trust me. Okay. Another option. This one I can't bring myself to do. So, this one. I incline my head in understanding and step aside, inviting him to take his leave for the door first. Eckhart didn't move immediately. He stays where he is, arms crossed, and regards me with a strange expression. Not unreadable, but almost as though it doesn't quite know what expression he should be making. Interesting. Is something the matter? You're one trusting motherfucker, aren't you? I scowl at him. You and your friends in this lovely little town aren't giving me a lot of choices. I expect another eye roll, a scoff, a dismissive wave. Instead, Alcar inclines his head, and there's something almost like guilt to his grimace. Let's go. There we go. Lunaris is a cold and lonely shell of its daylight form tonight, and I have to almost run to keep up with how quickly, though sure-footedly, Alcar moves through the black alleys. The chill sinks into my bones, and unbidden, I wish I wasn't here. I wish I wasn't falling a half-werewolf into the dark unknown towards more mystery. Omen's confession is still ringing in my ears, as do so many other things. Did you know that Omen is? Alcar shakes his head, ears flattening. Not here. Another turn, and we step beyond the village's bounds. Trees bloom above us, moonlight flooding through the bare branches to afford some light. And there's eyes again, which for some reason I never noticed until last night. So weird. How many times have I played this game? I don't know anymore. Alcar leads me a little further away until the roofs of the houses are barely visible, then turns to me. A while ago, I got into a fight with one of your hunters. He jerks his chin towards the village. Well, not one of yours, I suppose, since you just got here and all, but one of theirs. Some bloke. I didn't even remember his face all that well. Alcar pauses for a moment, rubbing at his chin almost nervously, eyes narrowed. But then he shakes himself of it, and continues. It was full moon. I had an argument with my sister. Didn't go well. He grimaces at the memory. And when I transform, when I'm upset, my control's not as good as it could be. But I know I didn't kill him. Would have damn well remembered that if you ripped a man apart with your own claws and teeth. Oh. But when I came to, he knocked me out, I guess. You hunters and your annoying little gadgets. Your enforcer friends were already swarming over us like hornets. But I don't see the man. No blood either. I can't even smell my own. That doesn't mean you didn't hurt him. Alcar gives me a look. Okay, smart ass. Point is that your hunter friend vanished. Poof. The enforcers, dragged me off to the fun little dungeon and kept me there for fuck knows how long. A fucking week, I think. More. And then they branded me and they punted me out on the street. Too dangerous to just snuff me, I guess, given how I knew Ezra and Finn and all that. But here's a question for you too, Hunter Locke. What do you do when a creature's hurt a hunter so bad he apparently isn't walking around anymore? I pressed my lips together. Nothing pleasant, I know that much. Assuming the creature in question was allowed to escape with their life at all. In my experience, the brand is reserved for things that have a prolonged use, or creatures too delicately tied to the order of things to be freely snuffed, as Alcar had so elegantly put it. But surely, if he had wounded a hunter so terribly, he would still have been in the dungeons. Perhaps Finn or Ezra parlayed for your release? But Alcar is shaking his head. They didn't. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you hunters don't get retirement leave till they can't walk on two legs anymore. And even then. Well, there are always prosthetics, like Finn's. Alcar barks a sharp, bitter laugh and shakes his head. But neither him nor I find humor in it, I know. He's quiet for a moment, running a hand through his hair, messing with his clothes, fidgeting, nervous. I step back a pace to let him collect himself. No use pushing him for anything now, not when he's already been so open with telling me everything he knows. I didn't kill that hunter. Alcar's frown is deep, but his words are quietly fierce as they are pleading. I didn't. I would have forget something like that, and I've enough to never do it by accident. Never. So again, now the last third option, which we will bypass this time. Then what happened to that hunter? Do you not know who he is at all? Alcar scowls at me, though his tail switches back and forth in chagrin. There's enough of you lot running around this place, and I don't keep an eye on everybody, okay? Especially not that one, I guess, since I don't even remember his scent that well. Must have been a forgettable enough one. A small shiver goes down my spine. A hunter who isn't well remembered or well known, vanishing so thoroughly? It will not be the first time, it will not be the last, nor the first time in years. My rank weighs like a burden on my soul. Hunters wield power, after all, and with power comes politics. You make it far by being good at what you do and by keeping your head down to one degree or another, else you find a clandestine way to make your queries, or you fuck up and you disappear. Oof. But what politics would this forgettable man have served? Lunaris does not suffer from intricate power balances. Lieutenant General reigns supreme, and that's it. Does Lieutenant General Addington know of this? Yeah, I think he was the one campaigning for my release, so I owe him one, I guess. Ah, of course, Addington most of all wouldn't have wanted to destroy the peace with local creatures. Until he has a surefire way of removing them with impunity, anyhow, I suppose. I have another question as well. Were you aware Omen came from hell? Alcar frowns at me, then squints and snorts. Of course, where else would they be coming from? The general store? I hope he doesn't hear the sound of my teeth gnashing as loudly as I hear it, but with the way his ears suddenly stand up and the cackle, I know he's seen something. I meant that he is the son of the Lord of Hells. You were the one who didn't ask. You weren't giving me a chance to, as I recall. And why exactly should I have told you? Oh, by the way, we got a demon prince in town, and he's easily spooked, but don't you worry about that because he's harmless? Like that was why. He pauses for a moment to consider his own words, then shrugs. That was his secret to tell, and he didn't have anything to do with the mess that's been cropping up around here, including that fact. Besides, Ezra was willing to offer him a place to stay, same as he offered to help me, help Finn, help anyone who so much as looked like they needed it. Yep, sounds like Ezra. Omen came to his door and asked for aid. Why would he be different than any of us? Than you, who he took in that night, too? I can think of a few ways a hunter might be different from all those things, but I understand the spirit of it. Omen has stout friends in this town, and if I didn't misread the hint of protectiveness in Alcar's voice, some are more than just stout. I understand. Alcar inclines his head in acknowledgement, his eyes sharp, intense. It's more force than I've ever seen from him. Good. Then he chuckles and leans away, signifying that the conversation is at an end. See you tomorrow? Where are you going off to so soon? Back into my hovel before the big bad vampire comes to scold me about staying out in the cold, of course. What else? Excuse my nosiness, but you look like you've seen some hell yourself, not just the Prince of Hell. I frowned, and my bat obviously rattled. But now that's been said, I do feel the building headache behind my eyes. Not from the ghost of James alone, but from, well, everything. Alcar is staring at me again, tilting his head this way and that, making a show out of squinting at me. Yeah, definitely looks forward. Fit for a bed, huh? Well, don't stray too far. I might need you tomorrow. I have a plan, you see. A plan, Well, don't worry too much. I'll be a stone's throw away, whether you like it or not. That's reassuring. When you need me, you need me. Until then, later. He disappears into the tree line, as sure-footed as ever, and once again I'm left alone in this damn forest. I begin to make my way back to the wolf, my mind reeling again, as it always seems to be these days. And music changed. So I feel hopeful. My plan seems plausible. The little team of misfit helpers I've managed to assemble more than capable of carrying it out alongside me. I think. I smile to myself, feeling a little lighter. Then a rustle. Something moving in the tree line a little too close to the edge of town for my liking. So, a choice. Do we wait or do we advance? Since this is Robin, we advance. I step forward, my footsteps quiet and assured as I advance back towards the thicker forest. Another rustle, closer this time. Uh-oh. Then it lumbers into view. It's hunched over and is shapen with long, gangly limbs that look out of place on its relatively normal-sized body. A single twisted horn grows out of its head, and I spot 3 eyes. The third seems new, underdeveloped, and it melts crudely above the existing left socket. It's covered in patches of scraggly fur and scales, and in some places its skin is entirely burned off. Mm-hmm. Something's really going on with my connection, I think. An amalgamation of mismatched parts and pieces that look like they don't belong. That cloudy gaze meets mine, and merely looking at it gives me a headache, a weak demonic aura that makes my body beg to look away. Oh boy. Then something hits me, something that makes me hesitate to draw my weapon. Shit. I cannot place this feeling of complacency, of ease, and nor can I fight it. Oh no. Is this how my comrades were killed so easily? Does it have some kind of power over us that makes us freeze, become immobile? Or is it the dull ache of familiarity that settles in my gut that makes me pause? The feeling that I shouldn't harm it, that it deserves empathy, mercy. It opens its crooked jaw, melded sinew and mottled skin, stretching and splitting to reveal a set of giant, violent, jagged teeth. Ooh, boy. My body screams at me to fight, but my feet are firmly planted, stuck to the forest floor. My fingers do not move, my weapon safe in its holster. It takes a purposeful step towards me with a low, rattling groan, teeth bared. My heart races as I stare into its unfocused eyes, all 3 of them blinking out of sequence. That would be creepy to see. There's a loud ringing in my ears, and I've never felt like this before. My instincts are screaming, pulsing, dying for me to do something. Anything, and yet all I can apparently do is stare down my bitter end. Then something washes over me, and in a split second I gain perfect, blinding clarity. Run, James. The creature takes another step and howls, a broken, blood-curdling screech. Run! I listen. And now, the chance to choose who I will romance, which is probably apparent by now. So we could go to Finn, August, Piper, Alcar, Ezra, or Omen, or we could go to the tavern and not romance anyone. Well, the whole point of this was to romance a specific person. And I don't remember if I mentioned this before, but there are two poly-romance routes. One with Finn and Ezra, the other with Alcar and Omen. And it doesn't matter if you pick just one of them, there will be an opportunity later to start the poly part of the romance. But I am going to go to Piper, because that's who I wanted to romance from the start. I just had fun flirting with everyone. As though my body already knows where I need to go, where I want to go, my feet carry me towards Piper's house. I don't look back, but I do hear the rustle of trees and the creature's maddened aura fading. It's heading back into the woods. The town is safe. For now. I'm thankful that the town is so small as my feet pound the icy cobblestones. My breathing is ragged, and I'm grateful when I reach Piper's door. I knock a little frantically, but I just want to get off the streets. The feeling of dread in my gut is heavy, and all I want is to see Piper. Who's knocking on my foot? Oh, Robin. She gives me the once-over, registering that something is clearly very wrong. Come in, quickly. She guides me over to the sofa, quickly checking a blanket around my shoulders. She takes a seat beside me and places her hands upon my shoulders. Are you injured? I shake my head, take a deep, ragged breath. No, I think I saw it, Piper. The creature. Oh, no. But you're here. You're okay. She squeezes my shoulders hard, and she looks impossibly relieved. She scoffs, closing her eyes. Her touch is still heavy and reassuring, her fingers twitching. I couldn't bear it if something happened to you, you know. She moves to withdraw her hands, but I curl my fingers around her wrist before she can get too far. Piper, we should go out there, right? We should try and find it. Maybe together we could kill the bastard, once and for all. No, we're not ready. Our priority is figuring out how it immobilized me so easily. I've never felt so helpless. I look at her, and the thought of her putting herself in front of that thing terrifies me now that I know what it can do. She swallows thickly, looking down at our point of contact, carefully moving to lace our fingers together. She bites her lips, lashes dips, cheeks kiss crimson. You really care for me that much, Look, she's blushing! I nod, my heart pounding insistently in my chest as she runs a finger up along my forearm. I do. She shifts closer, facing me, her knees brushing. You know, I've become strangely fond of you, too. Watching you fight the other night, fighting by your side, I felt a spark. I don't tend to connect with others easily, but you've awoken something in me. The way she's looking at me makes me shudder, the endless sapphire of her eyes pouring into me. Her hands move to my face, fingers shaking the curve of my jaw. I find myself wanting. I swallow thickly, unconsciously leaning into her touch. Her warmth is unmatched, everything about her inviting. Wanting? Piper nods, edging closer again. To kiss you. Would you like that, Robin? And this is one thing I really like about this game, is you can choose to kiss her or not. And she's okay with it either way. Because some players are not into that. They don't like the kissing, but they like the romance. But since it's me, we will kiss. The way she looks at me sends heat trickling across my skin, her eyes dark, her sly smile inviting. Piper is like no one I've ever met. She's fierce and proud, and even though we've barely known each other a week, I feel a connection. Yes, I would. She trails her fingertips over my lips, tracing the curve of them. I'm so glad you said that. I've been finding it hard to resist. She leans in, the smell of peppermint and clean cotton flooding my senses. We're close, closer than ever before. My ruby lips curl into a grin before she presses them against my own. My eyes flutter close, and I sink into it in kind, drowning in Piper, Piper, Piper. Her hand runs down my arm, seeking fingertips to twine with. I smile against her lips, and she catches my quiet laugh against her tongue. We break apart, albeit reluctantly, and I rouse from the delightful crimson her freckled cheeks have turned. Well, that was... She looks at me from beneath dipped eyelashes, her eyes dark. She doesn't speak, but a low, delicious, and appraising hum rumbles in her throat. It was. She looks like she wants to eat me whole, to not let me go. I kind of wish that she would, but we tear ourselves away from one another, and Piper bites her bottom lip, smiling slyly. There's something else, you know? I feel lighter somehow, like being here with her makes everything seem so easy, like it was always supposed to be like this. Pretty art. The way she looks at me makes my heart skip a beat, too, like I'm the only thing that matters. She rests her head upon her hand, her eyes heavy, tired. She's so beautiful, bathed in the dull orange glow of the roaring fire, and I feel more at home here than I ever have anywhere else. I feel so lucky, you know. Lucky? A smile, soft, reverent, to have found someone like you, someone who finally understands me. When I look at Piper, I see strength, passion, someone who helps me find worth in myself, and I'm glad I do. And in turn, she finds that in me too. I feel the same, Piper. A meaning, a purpose, and we lift each other up and allow ourselves to shine. Her support makes me feel unstoppable, and alongside everyone else, no longer am I alone in this. I have a family. Everything is going to be okay. End of chapter 4. So that's it for this evening. Oof, that was a lot. No, not that one. Next page. Here. So that's it for this evening. Hope you enjoyed that and enjoyed the chance to see romance get started. Um, I've heard that there are other visual novels where you don't even start the romance until the end of the game, which seems kind of silly to me because for me, part of the reason for doing these is to get together with the romance and then face whatever challenges are ahead together. Um, my first visual novel is called Arcade Spirits, and it's similar to this in a way. It doesn't really have a mystery, but you're basically following the main character as they kind of get their life sorted out. Yeah, I don't know when I will next stream. I was planning on Monday, but I remembered that I have a thing Monday evening, and I don't know if I'll be up to streaming after I finish that. So we'll see if I stream Tuesday or Wednesday. Thursday is definitely out. I still have class on Thursday evenings. That'll be going until December. Um, yeah, that's it. So then, whenever I next stream, we will be doing the next chapter, which is when we will invade the dungeons and find out what the fuck is going on, hopefully, or maybe not, who knows. So until our next stream, have a good evening, or day, or whatever. Goodbye. Take care. Bye.